Okay, hello everybody. So today we are talking about cloth pads. So I just want to start out with what is a cloth pad? So there's a couple different types of cloth pads that you can get. I have here some from, I'm not sure what company they are. I got them in St. Thomas, and these ones are cotton. So they're a little bit thinner. And they're just kind of like soft. These ones aren't super absorbent. I think they're labeled as regular flow, but I honestly don't use these anymore since I got my Rebel Rag set, which is the ones I'm going to be talking about today. So we'll put these guys aside. I just wanted to show them for comparison. You can see they're really thin. They are waterproof, but they're not my go-to anymore. So I purchased a whole set from Rebel Rags here in London, and for every pad you buy from them, they donate one to someone in need. And there's actually a lot of exciting things that are going to be happening with them soon, so stay tuned for that. But a complete set comes with 2 liners, so little tiny guys. Let's see. And then 5 regulars, and 2 of like the heavy overnight postpartum pads. And then the set also comes with a drying line. So it has these little snaps on it. And what you do is you just, when you've washed your pad, snap it on, hang this up somewhere. What I actually do is just snap these together, hang the ones I've used, and put it over a doorknob because I don't actually have a clothesline. So that's what works for me. But anyhow, one thing that confuses a lot of people, which I'm going to talk about right off the bat, is when you get your pads, they come snapped like this. This is not how you put them on. You do not want the pattern in. That is not the absorbent part. You want the black material facing in. So these actually snap underneath of your underwear. And then it would just sit like that. Okay. So there are a couple of uses for cloth pads. I have my set for my period, but they're also great for women or men that might have incontinence issues. So if you're peeing a little every time you laugh, it happens, especially after babies, no shame. So the pads just make it feel more like you're wearing clothes and less like you're wearing a diaper. And that's why they're also great for postpartum, because they're actually super absorbent. Like these absorb way more than a disposable pad will. Okay, I want to touch over why I made the switch to cloth pads, because I switched about a year and a half ago when I first got these guys to try out from Vesta. That's where it was, Vesta in St. Thomas. I believe this is a Canadian company as well, Oko Creations, not too sure. But that's what I started with, and it was because I'm actually allergic to most adhesives. I'm really allergic to latex, and I find a lot of the adhesives, I don't know if maybe they have latex in them, but they're just not good for me. They make me really itchy, like itchy days later after using them. And I find too with disposable pads, the part that sticks down into your underwear will often fold up and then suddenly it's stuck to your skin and you're like, what is going on? So that is why I mainly switched, because of allergy reasons, sensitive skin at first. And around that time is when I actually started getting more into the low waist movement. So trying to reduce the amount of garbage that I'm producing and also saving money. So one of these sets of cloth pads can last you upwards of 5 years, which is amazing. I'm someone where I like to double up. I do use my cups. When I used to use tampons, I would use pads as well, just because I am a nervous Nancy. So I find that having this as like a little backup is great. But if actually, like with my last cycle, I didn't even use my cup that much. I kind of just used these guys because they're super comfortable, and I actually find that they make my flow a little bit lighter. I don't know why. I googled this. It's a thing apparently. I think it's because of like the material. It just like sends your brain some messages when things are flowing and it feels like I don't know. It's a phenomenon. It's strange. So that is why I switched. And I just want to show a comparison here. Is this one of the regulars? Let me grab a regular. So these are both labeled as regular flow. You can see even just side by side once they're snapped, there's quite a difference in the thickness. This is definitely more on par with like the thickness of like a heavier liner with disposables, and this is more so the size of like a regular pad. Thickness wise, you can also see this one's a lot thinner. The Rebel Rags one is more thick. Now these ones, they're cotton, they're unbleached organic cotton, but I don't think, have much of a bamboo core. And the bamboo core is the absorbent part of cloth pads. The Rebel Rags ones do have that. So that's why I think my body likes these ones better. I can go way longer without having to change them. And so that's my one piece of advice is when you're buying a set, look for ones that have that bamboo core. And like I said, I do recommend Rebel Rags. You can check out their Facebook page. I'll tag them below. And otherwise, you can find some at like Reimagine Co here in London, but otherwise on Etsy. You could just Google cloth pads, but it's kind of nice to support small creators. So that is my advice. And when you're buying them, again, if you're going all in, buy a set. It saves you a lot of money. This set of the 2 overnight, 5 regular, and 2 liners, the washing line, oh yeah, and the carry case, I think was like $100, which isn't bad. And knowing that all of that doubles and a woman in need gets a set is amazing. So this brings me to a good point. A question I got is, how easy is it to deal with these things in public day-to-day life? It's super easy. So these things can fold up pretty small into this little square. And if you do buy a set with Rebel Rags, they give you a waterproof lined carry case. So what I would just do is pop a clean one in there, head off to work, wherever you're going, school, and then when you go to the bathroom, just bring your little doodly bop, open it up, grab your clean one, pop her open, take your dirty one. It's optional. You can take some toilet paper and just wipe the top if you've had a heavier flow day. I like to do that regardless. Like, I'm someone where I don't change my pad every time I go to the bathroom. So if I have to pee, I'll go pee and just like do a little wipe of the top so I don't have to scrunch my undies back up and have some clumpage going on. But that's what I'd recommend doing for when you're changing it in public as well. So then once you've taken it off, what you would do is with the wet side up is just take an edge, fold it in, fold it in, fold a clasp side in, the other clasp side. There you go. You're not going to have to touch anything with blood on it. You pop it right in here, take it home, and then deal with washing after. And this too is super easy to clean. Just flip it inside out, and you can wipe it right down. So it's actually super handy because, you know, in like public bathrooms, how they have those metal bins for pads and tampons, because obviously you shouldn't flush those things. They're super loud and clangy, and I mean, I don't care who knows that I had my period, but I know some people do. So if you don't have to deal with that clanging, that's always nice. Yeah, so changing them in public is super easy. I don't think there's really anything more to it than that. If I missed anything, send me a message about that, but it's actually, like, I'd say more easier to deal with cloth pads in public than menstrual cups even, which is really nice. Yeah. Okay. So I got another question that is, how do you know when to change it? Because with ones like this where they're black, you know, you can see with this how much is in it, but you can't really as much with the black ones. My answer is just you're gonna know. Like, again, these are pretty absorbent, so it's not like a disposable. The first bit you're bleeding, it's because this one's more of like a velour-y, fleecy material. It absorbs right into that bamboo core. Like here, I can pull it apart there and you can see there's a lot of room in there with the absorbency that it can fill it up. So you might touch it and it feels dry, and that's because the inside has just absorbed everything right up. So I usually know about when it starts feeling really moist against your skin in there, and that's when you know to change it. And of course, if you're using it for incontinence or postpartum, same thing. If it's starting to feel really moist, just switch it on out. Another note that these are good for is if you have children and they're maybe like a little bit of a bedwetter or sometimes have like small accidents. I was talking to the creators of Rebel Rags at Feminismus, and they said a lot of parents will buy these for their kids, pop them in their underwear. They said they can make them without the snaps. So, you know, if it's like typical men's underwear, that way they can just place it in there and it can catch any liquid that it needs to. So I thought that was really, really cool. But I'm trying to think of what an individual pad goes for. I think the liners start at about $8, and you can find like the heavy duty pads upwards of about 20, I think. I think that's about right. So that brings me to my next point, which is washing. And I'm just going to use a little liner for this demo because it will be quicker. So I know with these ones, when I bought them, I went online and they were hand wash only. I think this is just because of the material used, like the clasps even you can tell are a lot more flimsy. I don't remember what, like, if there is a core in these ones, but they were hand wash only. The Rebel Rags ones are really nice because you can actually toss them in the washing machine. I don't opt to do this. I find it quite therapeutic to hand wash them, and I just want to keep my babies in the best shape so they can last the longest and keep saving me money. However, if you're kind of like weirded out by your own blood, work on it, but that's okay. And you can just take all your pads at the end of your cycle or mid-cycle, depending on your flow. And you do, like, if they're super soaked, I would just like rinse them under the tap at least to get anything that's sitting on top off. But for the most part, it's fine to just toss them in the washing machine, and make sure you're using like a more gentle or natural detergent. Like, try and stay away from like using a Tide Pod or something, and no fabric softener. That's the one thing with these guys, is no fabric softener, just because of their core. You don't want the wash to affect its absorbency. And then once they're washed, again, there is the option, you can put them in the dryer on low heat, but it is better to hang dry them. And again, if you buy a set, you will get this little hanging thingy-majig. But in the summer, it's actually good to hang them outside because the sun does work as a natural bleach. So it just does an extra little job of disinfecting everything. If you do buy white base pads, it does help take any stains out. Surprisingly, mine don't really have stains, which I'll get to my magic stain remover stick in a minute. But yeah, they're actually super easy to clean. And that was kind of the washing machine way of doing it. And now I'll show you the hand washing way of doing it, which is what I do. So I'll show you the products that I use first. I have this little mini baby bottle of, I think it's the baby's version. Yeah, the 18-in-1 baby's unscented, how do you say it, Castile soap. Let me just show you how much I've used of this. I have had this bottle for, I shit you not, 2 years. Like, you need such a small amount when you're using Castile soap undiluted. So that's what I use as a washing agent. I don't use an actual washing detergent. This is it. And then my stain stick, which this is like the Holy Grail. This I actually got off of Etsy. I'm gonna have to check if they still make it. It's from, what are they called? Glorious Life Soaps. It's made in Ottawa, Ontario. And their whole message is being waste-free. So when they package up your orders, there's an option to make it even more eco-friendly, and they wrap everything in like as little materials as possible. The stain stick just comes in a little biodegradable piece of cardboard, and I think this cost me $4. Like, it was so cheap, and again, I've barely made a dent in it. These spots are just from like the paper since I leave it on it. And then typically what I do, because again, I don't like waste, is I have this little reusable Ziploc that I think I got this one at Reimagine Co. And I just wait for it to dry, pop it in there, seal it up, put it in my period bin until the next cycle. So I'll talk through how to wash them, and then I'll show you how I would do it, just so you know kind of the actions. But when you're hand washing it, I use cold water only. In my opinion, I think that this helps preserve the life of the material and keep things softer, but that might just be all in my head. But what you would do is, I mean, I don't have any fun liquid to put in it, but typically when you're washing it, the only time you would see the blood is in the stream of water coming out of this when you're pressing it. It doesn't just like fly all over, like it absorbs deep into the core. So the first thing you want to do if you're hand washing it is just saturate it in water and start squeezing. So squeezing, meaning like this, picking from one end and squeezing out, because you have to make that fluid travel down the pad and out. So that's the most effective way to do it. What you never want to do is wring it out. So none of this. Absolutely not. That's gonna mess up the bamboo core and ruin your pad. It's not gonna work. So squeezing it like this is the best way to do that. Once the water is running clear is when I add in my soap. So I take my soap and I literally put like 3 drops on. That's it. And that's when I start zhuzhing, which I'll show in a second when I turn the water on. And that just means you want to work the soap in, get it absorbing into the core a little bit. And then again, rinse with cold water, squeeze out. That is typically where I finish. Then I hang them up and let them dry. If I've got some blood on the back somehow, or again, if I am running low and need to use one of these, that's when I'll take my stain stick while it's still wet and just rub it on here like this. Let it sit for about 15 minutes and then come back and then squeeze one more time under cold water and hang dry. So I'm going to try and angle this down if I can. Oh, Lordy. Okay, perfect. So hopefully you can hear me over the water. I'm just going to wet this really quick and then I'll show you that zhuzhing action, which I'm talking about. Okay, so again, pretending the water's still going, you would just be doing this, just squeezing the water out until it's running clear. So when you're first going, you're going to notice things are running a little bit red, and then it'll start to run clear, and that's when you want to put your soap on. So then you take your soap, and again, you can use a washing detergent. Just make sure it's gentle and no fabric softener. I take my Baby Castile soap and go 1, 2, 3. That's enough. And this is the zhuzhing. So this is what I mean by zhuzhing. So taking one side to the other and just doing this. So it's not wringing this way, just zhuzhing. Take your wings. If they need it, give it a little zhuzh. That's just going to help work that soap around and cover all the square footage, if you will, of the pad. So once that's worked in well, then you just want to rinse it until it runs clear, which in reality it would probably take longer than that. And then that would be when, if you did have stains anywhere or something, and again, because these are black, I don't really get that, you would just take your stain stick, wet it a bit. I think you can get these at Pretty Naturals actually too. I think Maybe they don't make them anymore. I don't know. One of the companies they sell used to make them. And then you just take it, rub it against the fabric, put it down, forget about it for about 15 minutes, come back, and then just rinse it off. And again, zhuzh it a little bit. That's the key to everything. It's just zhuzhing the pads. And then you don't have to they don't have to be super dry to hang dry them. So again, no wringing, just squeeze them out. That's about as much as I would do. Clip her onto your pad drying line. Clip this into a circle. And then I'm just gonna hang this on my doorknob. So that's how easy washing them is. Oh boy, let's put this back up. So it's really pretty quick, pretty simple. And they dry super quick. Like that pad will be dry by tomorrow morning, which is awesome, like all the way through. So if you're in a pinch and you realize you don't have time to do laundry, but you need a couple extra pads, hand wash them. Some people soak their pads. I don't do this because I do typically hand wash mine like every other day throughout my cycle, but if they've been sitting a while, just take a pot that you don't cook in, fill it up with water, let them soak for half an hour. It'll just make some of the more dried up blood wash out a little bit easier. Just looking to see, I think I had another question I missed. Oh yeah, somebody wanted to know how they compare to disposable pads. They are so much better than disposable pads. Again, they're gonna last you way longer. They're way more comfortable. You feel like you're just wearing cozy underwear, like fuzzy socks, but in underwear, rather than a big clunky pad. I remember in high school, I used to joke that I was wearing like a diaper because I have a really heavy flow. Well, I did at the time. And so I'd have to wear the maxi pads and I'd be walking around and you can just like feel it moving. It doesn't feel very good. So they feel awesome compared to disposables. And I find I can go longer without changing them, especially overnight actually. And I'm not sure why that is. Usually when I wake up in the morning, I find that, my flow is heavier just from laying down for a while. And these boys, they work well to catch everything. The overnight ones, they're super, super absorbent. So I find they do actually last longer throughout the day, which is good. So, in summary, pros of cloth pads: save you money, save the environment, save you from feeling uncomfortable, easy to change, easy to wash, and I think it also does just help deepen your connection with your period, and that's a whole other topic I can go over. But when you're not fearing and dreading your period, your premenstrual symptoms go way, way, way down. Your mood balances, cramps can lessen, things are getting more regular. Being in tune with your body and your period makes a world of difference. So cloth pads are amazing for deepening that connection. And again, where to find them? Rebel Rags, definitely who I would recommend. Their Facebook will be linked down below in a moment. You can buy Rebel Rags pads at Pretty Naturals as well in select designs and absorbencies. You can buy them at the Bean Garden down in the East End. Again, select designs and absorbencies. You can have her make you a custom set with a certain design if that's what your heart desires. And otherwise, I think Reimagine Co, maybe they sell this Oko Creations brand. I'm not sure. They are a good option if you want something that feels a little bit lighter, just because of the cotton. I think it's cotton. Or if you want something that's just thinner, if you have a really light flow, or if you're buying them for it's like spotting or light levels of incontinence, then I would recommend these. And then I'll quickly just go over using them for postpartum. So again, with postpartum, you want to make sure that you're buying the more heavy duty ones, just because your flow of blood that's traveling out is going to be a little bit unpredictable. But buying the heavy duty ones, make sure it has a bamboo fleece core. That is the most important part. That's the absorbent part. Or what do they call it? PUL, PIL, poly, something, something. It's the thing that makes it waterproof all throughout. Yeah, so I think that's kind of it. Again, they range from anywhere from getting a full set from $100 to $7 for liners, and they'll last you 5 to 10 years. So I don't regret the switch. I could literally never go back to disposables again. My wallet doesn't want to go back. My sensitive skin doesn't want to go back. My comfortability doesn't want to go back. Highly recommend cloth pads. If I have missed absolutely anything, drop me a message, drop me a comment, but I hope this was helpful. And they pair well with cups. If you're scared of your cup leaking, just go to the store, grab one pad, and just wear it as protection. Again, you're not going to feel like you're wearing a diaper. It's going to feel super comfortable. And until I find another topic to chat about, I will see you on Facebook and Instagram.